there are a few really great resources out there that I would really recommend that people check out that will give a more comprehensive list of some of these warning signs and some of the symptoms. So you can find them on our website at NoStigmas.org. If you go to our Learning Center and look at, just type in the keyword suicide, so this list will pop up.
Great.
The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is a great resource, and the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is also a great resource. But to answer your question, basically major changes in someone's behavior, right? So if you're seeing someone withdraw, if you're seeing someone increase use of alcohol, increase risk-taking behaviors, when someone was social and suddenly they're not, those kind of warning signs are ones to really take note of. And sometimes it's something dramatic, and other times it's not, right? Sometimes it's more subtle. But kind of being cognizant of when these changes are happening is really important. There are certainly some circumstances where you need to seek outside professional help, or even emergency services. For instance, if someone, of course, is speaking about taking their own lives, right? That's something that should always be taken seriously. Even if you think someone's joking, even if there's someone that you never think would do that, take that seriously, because it does a couple of things. One, if someone is actually suicidal, then it, in most cases, will give them a great sense of relief to understand that someone is taking them seriously, that they are actually validating how they're feeling. If someone is using suicide flippantly, if they're using it as a joke, by you taking it seriously and saying, are you really suicidal? Is that something that you're considering? They'll start to understand that it's something serious that we don't joke about, right? Because the more we joke about it, the more we're flippant about it, the more it normalizes or makes people feel like it's trivial, takes the seriousness away from it. So I very much, I'm not rude to people. I don't call them out in a way that makes them feel bad, but I just let them know, like, I want to make sure that you're joking about this, because if you are, seriously thinking about killing yourself because you didn't get your whipped cream on your latte, then we need to talk about this. And so I think that culturally we're starting to change and starting to become aware more of that. So I hear less jokes about those things, but even people, I think especially young people, like, oh, she broke up with me and now I'm gonna kill myself, my life's over, like that sort of thing. Again, it's something that it needs to be addressed in a way that so someone understands it's not something that you just talk about flippantly, right? I think when someone is specifically talking about death or dying, seeking lethal means, so if someone is looking for guns or for knives or for pills or that sort of thing, obviously that kind of stuff is pretty blatant warning signs, and that's when you want to bring in professionals or call 911, depending on the immediacy of the threat. But I think the most important thing is, if you suspect that someone is suicidal, if someone is depressed, if someone is in this state, it is okay to ask them. It's okay to talk to them about it. And in fact, it can be a really scary thing. It's not easy to do, but doing that gives someone such a sense of relief and such a sense of understanding. And in a lot of cases, just that conversation, knowing that someone cares, can be enough to disrupt that thought pattern and help someone get the support that they need.
I've heard you were talking about changes in mood or behavior. I've even heard cases of it was the opposite change of behavior where they were depressed, they were sad, and then like that,
Yeah.
they just woke up one morning perky. And I think in this particular case, they were saying the girl had already decided she was going to do it. She's
Yeah.
going to commit suicide. And I think because she had made that decision,
Yep.
I guess the pain for her went away because in her mind it was going to end.
Yeah.
So she was immediately happy again, and that wasn't as obvious of a sign to her family. And then, unfortunately, like a day or two later, like she was gone. And I thought that was really weird and sad and tragic and interesting because I hadn't heard of that before.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That that decision for a lot of people can be very kind of relieving, right? So if you think about the fact that someone has been in pain for so long, and then they decide to end it, and they know that pain is coming near, or that end of the pain is coming near, then it can have that sense of relief or elatement. And I think so. The important thing is when there's any sort of dramatic change, right? So whether it's more depressed or manic or whatever it is, that's a warning sign, right? So dramatic shifts in someone's mood or behavior is definitely something to look out for.
Mm-hmm. And you had talked about interventions, which kind of goes along with what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, straight up asking someone, I think that's an important part of it. Recruiting help, right? So
like an actual group.
Yeah, so that can be, it can look a lot of different ways. So you can recruit help from some place like the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The number, by the way, is 1-800-273-TALK.
Great, and we'll add all this in our description too. So just so the users or our audience knows that they can find it there too.
Yeah, and so there's the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. There's the crisis text line. You can text the word ally to 741-741. And in both cases, there's people available 24/7, 365, who can not just help people who are going through stuff, but help the helpers, right? So they can actually provide you resources or talking points to help someone. So that's a great place to recruit some help for someone who's struggling, but also, their friends or family. If you're maybe not the closest with someone, which actually happens pretty often, where someone will reach out to someone who's not maybe their best friend or their closest person or a relative, but perhaps someone who's a friendly ear, who's, maybe they're not that close with, might be someone that they confide in. So recruiting someone who is closer to them, can be helpful as well. And then, of course, reaching out to emergency services. If there's any sort of a immediate threat, that's when it's really important to reach out.
This reminds me of a fact I just heard. This isn't really related to prevention, but the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco, is I guess the #1 spot for jumps suicide in the world. I think. Yeah. I can't remember the number, but they were saying vast majority of people who have survived jumps, maybe not just from the Golden Gate Bridge, just jumps in general, almost all of them said that mid-jump they regretted jumping.
Absolutely. Yeah, so my good friend Kevin Hines is one of those people who jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Whoa.
And less than 1% who have survived.
Whoa.
And that's what he always says is, the moment that my hands left that rail, I immediately regretted it. And in the few seconds fall, that was all he could think about, was I made the biggest mistake. And I think that's very common, right? And that's the thing about suicide, is it's most generally a permanent solution to a temporary problem, right? Or to a fixable problem. And I think Kevin is a great example of that. If you Google Kevin Hines, you will see a plethora of stories and videos on him. He's an extremely inspirational individual because not only, he survived the fall, and he wrote a book, and he has an international speaking career, and he's a very inspirational fellow. But I think I just said fellow. How old am I?
I bought it.
He's an inspirational fellow. Gosh, no wonder I'm single.
Anyway. Oh, trust me, we've heard worse on the show.
No, but Kevin is, he's such an inspirational guy. And but the fact is that he lives with chronic suicidal ideation. Today, his brain still makes him feel like completing suicide regularly.
Would you say he's depressed and?
He manages his, he has severe mental illness, and he has paranoia, and he has psychosis sometimes, and he has depression, he has anxiety and bipolar disorder. He lives with all of this, and he has a very in-depth treatment plan. And but yeah, he still hears voices that tell him to kill himself, or that other people are going to kill him.
But he doesn't want to now because he tried it.
But that's the thing, is he's very much resolved that is not how he's going to die. And so he has systems in place, and he has support, and he has, his treatment plans and things that keep him here, right? And that's so I think such a testament to doing the work, right? He does the work every single day, and that's why he's here, and that's why he's able to inspire so many people, while still dealing with this stuff. Actually, next week, I will be going up to San Francisco for the first time, and I will be visiting the Golden Gate Bridge with Kevin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's something I've always wanted to go up there and visit, and so to get to do that with Kevin, he's from San Francisco, and he's actually he and his crew have been a big part of getting the safety net built on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, so they've put one in now.
They are in the process of it. Yep. They I think have either started construction or will be doing so shortly, but it took a long time to get that approved, to get the funding.
Yeah, I guess that does make it, why don't they just put a net there?
Yep. So, not that it's, it's not a foolproof solution, but it's something that, certainly will help a lot. And so that's an exciting thing that's happening there. But even just the simple fact that there's now, resources that are being, signs for the suicide prevention lifeline or the crisis text line on the bridge, like that kind of stuff is exciting, and stuff that has never happened in the past.
Well, we'll have to have him on too.
Yeah, for sure.
To kind of piggyback off everything that we've talked about. He'd
be a great guest.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Jacob, is there anything else that you want to get out there that you think is really important to say about this that we didn't talk about?
I think, the one thing that I, want to impress upon people in general is that you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling, no matter how much of a freak or human experiment or, whatever it is you feel like, there are people out there who, maybe they don't understand exactly what it feels like to be you. No one can, but they get what it's like to feel alone. They get what it's like to struggle, and I'm one of those people, and I can say that, I will listen. If we're not in contact, find someone who will listen. Reach out, keep reaching out, keep doing the work, because it's worth it. And it's possible to go from a life where you're just surviving to a life where you're thriving.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, where can people find you or NoStigmas?
So NoStigmas at NoStigmas.org. NoStigmas on every social media platform.
NoStigmas.
Just NoStigmas,
That's
yep.
convenient.
Stigmas with an S on the end, because there are more than one. And then for me, I'm at jacobmoore.com and Jacob Moore on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on, talking
pleasure.
about this really important but really relevant topic. That was wonderful.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching the episode. If you're interested in contributing to the conversation and supporting the show, there's 2 easy things you can do. 1, click subscribe, and 2, visit our Patreon page where you get exclusive access to the Exploring Minds community.